Sairam,
Sairam.
I am at the home of Mr. Sonilal Mewah and Mrs. Kamala Mewah, his wife. This for me is a privilege and an honor to be here this evening to do this program with them, Unite and Inspire. Mr. and Mrs. Mewah have been long-standing and one of the founding father and mother of the organization in the Southeast region. Mrs. Mewah, how did you first come in contact with Sri Satya Sai Baba?
Sairam, in 1982, my family and I was involved in a very serious motor vehicle accident, as a result of which we were laid up. We had time on our hand, and there was a book which my husband had lying on the shelf for a few years. He read it and then passed it on to me. And after reading this book called The Man of Miracles, I found it very urgent that I wanted to hear and learn more about Sri Satya Sai Baba, who was the main character in that book.
Wow, that's an interesting story, Mr. Mewah. How did you come in contact with Sri Satya Sai Baba?
As a result, Sairam, as a result of the same accident, both of us were laid up. And this book, Man of Miracles, had been lying down at my bedhead for many years, which I never read. As a result, when I started to read the book, I could not put it down because of the interest contained in the book, miracles after miracles. And the name of the book, as was said, is Man of Miracles.
Well, that's such a very interesting situation here because people meet Swami, via several different things. Sometimes a dream, sometimes very pleasant. But here it is. We had a catastrophe. But tell me a little bit more about the accident. So how many people were involved in the accident from the family? Mrs. Mewah?
Both of us and 4 children.
4 children, okay. And there were, I remember there were a lot of...
One of the children wasn't ours, but it was a niece staying with us for a few days.
I got that. And I remember there were quite some injuries with one of the children in particular.
Yes, my little daughter, she was badly injured, and all the injury was on her face.
So tell me something. How many months were you all laid up for?
Well, I was laid up for more than a year because I had injury on my left knee, and it was taking really long to heal. And so I was away from work for nearly a year.
Interesting. And how long did we have the book lying there from your memory?
I don't remember because the book was given to my husband. And
Mr. Mewah, do you remember how long the book might have been lying there before this accident?
More than 5 years.
More than 5 years. So Mr. Mewah, who is Sai Baba to you? What does he mean to you?
To me, Sai Baba is my closest friend and companion, continuous companion. We play whenever we are in the car, side bhajans right through, and I am sure that he is with us as we continue to sing his bhajans as we travel in the car. the only reliable friend that I have. All my other friends have been absent since coming to Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba.
So you feel he has transformed you? What transformation?
Transformation. Most of my friends were to be found in the rum shops. Now, or a long time now, I have stopped visiting rum shops. As a result, I have lost all those friends. The only one friend who is with me all the time, I continue to rely and depend on him for his continued protection and guidance.
Well, that's a wonderful point you're making, because that kind of transformation from being in one place with a certain kind of habit, because a number of devotees talk about that, with a certain kind of habit, and now having been, gotten the assistance to get away from that habit, truly is transformation. Mrs. Mewah, can you relate some areas in your own life that you have been transformed, having been in this journey with Sri Satya Sai Baba?
Well, to start with, my entire family became vegetarians. They refused to have, the children refused to have anything to do with meat. In addition to which, we learned to sing bhajans at home. We were chanting. We had less quarreling. We were very patient with each other, and fortunately my children have grown up with that discipline in them, and they are doing pretty well right now, thanks to his love and grace.
I am very happy that you brought up the children, because it is my own experience where children are brought up with the teachings of Satya Sai Baba. We see a lot of difference, and the parents would always mention this. Tell us a little bit more about your children.
I have 4 daughters, and they were very much involved in the Sai organizations and the activities. Wherever there were activities, they would be taken and they would become involved. Right now, one of my daughters keep having dreams. Baba visits her very regularly, and she reports to us that he is guiding her, or guiding us through her, on matters that concern all of us. And so much so that he gave her a robe when she went to one of the conferences in Prashanti, and she continued to dream and advise us as he advised her.
But Swami have truly blessed this family. Is that the robe hanging right behind you?
Yes, that is the robe.
Yes, it's
Baba's
truly,
robe.
it's truly a blessing. It's truly a blessing to have a material article in your
Yes.
house, having been blessed by Sri Satya Sai Baba himself. Mr. Mewah, would you like to add anything in terms of your own transformation?
My own transformation deals with my daughter's attending Bal Vikas class in Rio Claro Science Center. I took them there on a regular basis, and I attended the Balvikas Gurus training program and qualified myself to teach Balvikas classes to the Balvikas children. That, I think, had been one of the greatest miracles in my life, being transformed from an alcoholic to one of service, educating young children.
I'm really glad you could relate that, Mr. Mewah, because I remember, now that you say that, I remember you were instrumental in driving this bus that belonged to the center. And I know you even helped pay for the bus to transport children and devotees religiously to satsang and to the classes. And you also relate where you were trained. And it's very interesting, it even reminds me a little bit about myself. When I was required to teach Balvikas, I had to study the program and attend training, and that has been responsible for my own transformation to program. So I can really identify with what you're saying. Mrs. Mewah, is there any other area in your life you'd like to tell us about, family life or otherwise, work life, about your own transformation?
Baba told us that hands that serve are holier than lips that pray. And ever since we joined the organization, we have been involved in every service activity or other activity that was organized by the Sai Center or the organization. And we have always been very active in these activities.
You know, sisters and brothers, I would like to attest to that. These persons, they are very much senior to me, a lot more senior to me. And up to this day, in the midst of the pandemic, these two wonderful persons continue to serve. They would make sure that whatever they have, they would parcel it out and take it and deliver it to people. I don't know sometimes how they do it. You would invite them to prayers, and they would not come just to the prayers. They would come earlier to keep assisting and assisting and assisting. And I can attest that Mr. Mewah is one of those guys who can cook. He might not cook much home, but he comes to people's prayers and satsangs and so on, and he remains active for hours in service. And that is something I've seen with my own eyes. So Mrs. Mewah, I have another question for you. Who is Sai Baba to you at this point in time in your life?
Sai Baba to me is everything. He's mother, father, and guide. He's protector. He is there guiding me and guarding me every step of the way.
Wonderful.
Well, interestingly, this is another motor vehicle accident in which we were on our way to Satsang, and a vehicle coming from the opposite direction smashed into the wing mirror. My husband was driving, the glass shattered, and pieces went into his eye and damaged it seriously. When we went to the San Fernando General Hospital, there was a Sai devotee who was the head nurse at the casualty department that night. And she was able to get in contact with all the relevant and necessary health personnel to give him the attention, the best attention that he could have gotten. It took a while, a few years, but eventually his eyesight was restored back to 2020. And I believe that had it not been for the intervention of Baba in this incident, his eyesight could not have been restored.
Well, this makes the story very, very, very interesting, because I'm hearing here that we have met Baba by accident twice.
Yeah.
We were playing side bhajans as usual, and on reaching a corner in Sani Grande there, a line of vehicles were coming down, and one vehicle was overtaking the line of vehicle in this accident, which came head on and rammed into our vehicle, which eventually was a total write-off. We were taken by the police to the San Grande hospital, and the vehicle was wrecked. It was a total wreck, and that was the end of that vehicle. Fortunately for both of us, the wife and I, we suffered simple minor injuries and were discharged.
Well, thank you so much. This makes the story even more interesting, because here it is. We have just met Baba again by accident, and it is by no means that I am trying to trivialize these experiences. I remember the one that Mrs. Mewah spoke with about a while ago. Actually, I was reminded that a phone call was made to me, and then I averaged when you all would have reached San Fernando General, and I called your daughter Nada, and Nada said to me that, Mr. Narayan, at this point in time, I'm speaking to a doctor who has on a wristwatch with Sai Baba's face on it. So I quickly hung up and waited to communicate later. So I now remembered, as a matter of fact, that I was part of this miracle experience. This makes it extremely interesting. But let us continue. Let me ask, Mr. Mewah, very briefly, what lessons have you learned about Satya Sai Baba, from Baba?
There are very many lessons that I learned. Satya Sai Baba is truly a man of very great miracles. Only when we experience it personally, we will want to believe that. The rest of the time, for those who have not experienced it, it will be doubts.
Mrs. Mewah, do you want to tell me a couple of the lessons you would have learned from Satya Sai Baba?
Well, first of all, I would say he assured us that he will protect us as the eyelid protects the eyes. And this is exactly what we experienced in both accidents. Apart from that, he said that he will never forsake us. He will always be with us, and I experience this every day. Little things will happen, and I know that it is with his grace that these things are happening, and we are not into any difficulty.
Mr. Mewah, do you remember any other lesson you would like to relate?
Yes. The doctor at the San Fernando Hospital, on my other clinic appointments, said he could not believe that my total eyesight was restored based on the seriousness of the accident. My eyesight was restored back to normal, even slightly better.
So it goes to indicate and it goes to strengthen that the lesson you have learned is about the authenticity of his declaration of who he is. Thank you. Let me ask, Mrs. Mewah, what advice do you have for devotees or people in general, having been a devotee of Satya Sai Baba?
I would like to advise everyone to remain with Sai Baba. Do not move or change, because he is our sole friend and protector. He will guide you. He promised that he will protect you. He will be with you whenever and wherever you are. And we should not forget this.
Mr. Mewah, advice?
Look for needy people and be helpful to them. They may not require much, very simple things. For example, just talking to these two people who are in their 80s. One of them is totally bedridden, and the other one, who is also in her 80s there, has to look after her. Simple things like getting some medicines from the drugstore, which they do not have, and which is not expensive. Those little acts of service are very helpful and meaningful to these poor, needy people.
Thank you, Mr. Mewah. Truly a man of his word when it comes to his dedication to service activities to humanity. One more question. What plans, Mrs. Mewah, what plans you have for the future while you continue this journey with Sai?
Well, right now, because of the COVID, we are unable to go out. We are restricted to home. So we have to chant more and follow Baba's advice and be safe and stay home and remember him all the time. He said that he who remembers me, I will be with him all the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will remember that my own self. Thanks. Mr. Mewah, what plans do you have as you continue in your life's journey with Sri Satya Sai Baba?
With the present restrictions of the COVID-19, Baba gave us the 9-point code of conduct. And number one in that 9-point code of conduct is everyday meditation, japa, and prayers. That I do every morning and every day as soon as I get up around 4 a.m. With that kind of a change in my whole life there, it is very, very peaceful and comfortable to get up thereafter in other activities.
Thank you, Mr. Mewah. Ladies and gentlemen, family, it has been a wonderful experience spending time with these two beautiful people. I have learned so much myself. I know that your children, your friends and your family are on the program tonight, and they will be calling in to speak and to share their experiences with you. Sairam everyone, thank you very much.
Sayonara.